it's the causation issue, and it's the substantial factor test. So it has to be the positional asphyxiation has to be the substantial factor that caused Mr. Floyd's death. So you can have these things happening concurrently, which creates almost like what you would consider an eggshell in terms of the victim, what you get. And you have, you get your victim is who it is. You don't get to choose your victim. You're the one that, creates the force that causes the death, but that person was more susceptible to be harmed. Then, that doesn't excuse the conduct of the defendant, and it certainly doesn't create an excuse for an acquittal, I think. But you have to show just reasonable doubt. And, in an instance like this, where you've got this long history of drug use and abuse, and the non-compliance with his blood pressure medication, which came out today, coupled with the use of stimulants like the methamphetamines. I mean, that's just, it's huge. And, that's the prosecution's burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And, and I think that's where they can really chip away at it. And that's where I would have spent my time and focus if I were Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, because I want to remind our viewers, Christa, that the very first question that they have to answer to get to any of the other questions is this cause of death. Did Derek Chauvin cause the death of George Floyd? And by cause the death, it's going to be a substantial factor. It doesn't have to be the only factor. It has to be a substantial factor. And the truth of the matter is, if they don't get past that question, then they acquit.
Yeah, they're done. And it, so it's a big deal. It's not, it can't be a trivial or, there's the way it's discussed out here in California, it might be a little bit different. I've been meaning to look up the definition of substantial factor in Minnesota. So forgive me that I haven't done that, but I think that's really where, you hang your case. You have to get past that. If you don't get past it, they're done. And so so it's not a matter of which will they, do what, the second degree murder, the third degree murder, or the second degree manslaughter. There's no choice. You don't even get the second degree manslaughter if Mr. Chauvin's conduct did not cause the death of Mr. Floyd.
That's right.
And it's not about the homicide either. The homicide's also tricky.
Yeah, it's all very tricky. And again, it really hinges on that very first question. If they get to that question and then go to the next one, then you're going to get something on one of those three. And it all determines on what they believe his behavior, either it contained intent, depraved mind, or just reckless behavior. So those are some of the questions that this jury is going to have to wrangle with. All right, Christa Ramey.